can be woven together into something like a campaign to really reinforce your message that you're trying to send. For example, Youth put on what we call the Fringe campaign a couple years ago. And this is a really good example of an old-fashioned campaign. We used posters, large visuals, and we shouted chants, handed out palm cards to the public, and that's the example of the sticker that we used for Sticker Shock. Just technically an old school, old media campaign. And then we got, of course, the TV coverage, radio coverage. Those things have been around for a while, so technically old media campaign. But my thoughts on this, the lines between old and new media are really beginning to blur. TV and radio these days are being streamed online. I listen to a radio stream online all the time. So it's really, is it still classified as old media? And a really good example of the blurred lines is with newspapers. Youth got headlines in our newspaper for our efforts during the Fringe campaign. The argument can be made that print newspapers are dead, and that's beginning to be the case. They're certainly not as prevalent as they were before. But our local newspaper, I live in a pretty small area, our local newspaper still sends out 30,000 copies of the paper a day. So that was 30,000 copies of our message being sent out straight to people. And for those people who don't get the newspaper, they can just go to www.fostersdailydemocrat.com. Most newspapers these days have their own websites, which they post the same articles as was in the paper. So then people out there, you can just whip out your smartphones and either Google UDETC Youth or Google the Fringe campaign and read the exact same article without even buying the paper. So the lines between new and old media are really becoming blurred. Everything ends up on the internet now. TV, radio, newspapers, you name it. And Youth works a lot with the older types of media that end up online. But we also work a lot with the strictly new tech-driven media. For example, we do have a Facebook page. We have a YouTube channel where we post videos. Our city recently built a media center where a few of our students are being trained to use the media to produce videos. And we also have been using texting now. Primarily our group uses emails, but now our advisors are starting to say like, hey, how come you haven't checked your email? It's been 3 days. Well, that's because we've been texting. So our advisors are being smart and we're like, well, hey, maybe we should use texting to communicate to the group too, since they're already doing it. So this fall on the applications to Youth, they'll be asking us if we can use texting as our main way instead of taking over email. So they can get our message to us and we actually check it in a decent amount of time. So that's really good ideas, I think. And then of course we have a website like everybody else does. Youth primarily uses these types of media because it's cheap, it doesn't cost you anything. You reach a lot of people with just one click of a mouse. I mean, it's really, really easy. And then it's really easy to communicate with youth. I mean, youth today, we're living our lives on the internet. We're doing daily activities online. So if you put your message where all the youth are, they're bound to see it. And then also, the internet gives you great feedback. You post a Facebook status or something, and then you can get comments right away. A really good example of this is with YouTube. My group posted a video on YouTube, and we got a couple of comments back. And it really made us realize that some people don't agree with us, and some people don't even like us. So here are the comments. Let's see. You are dumb blanks, and will end up blanking for crack. You are blanks being lied to by your parents and teachers. Keep believing the lies and brainwashing you're being told by your loser counselor. Quoted directly from YouTube, that's why it's all misspelled. And then the bottom one, blank blank, you guys can read it. Your child's name is so blanking stupid, and you are blank blanks. Okay, so, and there's pages and pages of comments exactly like this. So this is they're not even disagreeing with us, they're straight out not liking us. They're personally attacking us. I mean, the older students, I find it funny, it's like, okay, whatever. But some of the younger students, they really take it personally. I mean, these people, they're trying to, like, be mean to us. Your child game is so blanking stupid. And then they're making fun of our loser counselor. It's like, really? Okay. But, so this really teaches our kids that if you take a strong stand on something, you're going to get a strong response back. So now, like, of course the lines becoming blurred between new and old media, but it doesn't really matter what kind of media we use. It just depends if we have a strong, clear message, because that's how you influence people. So in my group, we have a 9-step process to create any sort of media, and first step being we create our broad goal. Our broad goal is like what we want to accomplish overall. An example of a broad goal could be reducing underage drinking. Another very different example of a broad goal could be reducing drinking and driving. They're both related to alcohol, but they're really different. So next after our broad goal, we create our specific objective. And this is like a mini goal that gets you to the broad goal. For example, if you had a broad goal of reducing underage drinking, you could have a specific objective of getting bartenders to check IDs. So if your piece of media was effective, bartenders would check IDs, which would lead to your broad goal of reducing underage drinking. Yep. After that, we find our target audience. And this is like, who do you want your piece of media to reach? Whose behavior are you trying to change? For example, we have this ad right here, or poster, or whatever it is. It says, start talking before they start drinking. This obviously has the broad goal of reducing underage drinking, but the target audience is towards parents. After this, we develop our core message. And this is like our whole message, what we want to tell people, boiled down into one little sentence. The best example of this is with a campaign that Youth is doing right now. It's a social normie campaign with the slogan being majority rules. And the core message of this being, not everybody is doing it. Not everybody is drinking alcohol. And then with the fridge campaign, the core message would be, hey parents, there's a huge risk in having alcohol in your home, just all free willy-nilly, because your kids can get at it and drink. So then we pick our strategy of the media. And the strategy is like, what exactly are you going to do or say to make sure that your media is effective? A good example of a strategy is a health strategy. It's really common, A, because it's easy and it can be effective for most people. This is like saying, oh, if I showed you this and told you you could get liver disease if you started drinking, my theory behind that would be if I told you you could get liver disease, you wouldn't want to start drinking because you don't want liver disease. So nobody wants liver disease. However, a health message isn't effective on everybody. No message is really effective on all groups of people. Health messages particularly aren't really effective towards kids my age, because it's more like, oh, it's not going to happen to me, it's way in the future. But a really good strategy to use towards kids my age is something like a social norming campaign, because, I mean, we want to fit in, or like a social disapproval one where we want to make it look like cool or something. So after this, we pick our setting, and our setting, like anything, is what's happening during your piece of media, like the background information. And it can occur in anything like a PSA or a poster. This example on the PowerPoint, the setting is obviously in a bathroom stall. And then in the sticker that we use for Sticker Shock, the setting is taking place inside of a fridge next to the milk carton. So then after you do all this, you can finally create your draft of the media. You can create your draft PSA or your draft poster, whatever you're going to do, and then you can finally create your final one once you've worked out all the kinks and everything. Then you practice, and you practice some more sign rolls if you're doing a PSA or skit, and then you practice until you're really sick of practicing and you just can't take it anymore, and then you practice again and again. And then you can finally record or perform or present your piece of media so you can get your message out there and people can be influenced by you and your message. So overall, my point is it's all about the quality of the message. New, old media, even if the lines are starting to blur, it doesn't matter. It's about what is inside of your message. Sure, a bad message can reach people, but it's not going to change their